What's up, everybody? This is Aztec 101 in the ring. And just want to say Happy New Year's to everybody in the YTBC. I want to say Happy New Year's to everybody that participates in the roundtable discussions. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed their holidays. Want to say shout out to Dstyles. This is a response video to Dstyles. About a week ago, he uploaded a couple videos where he made the claim that boxing is not a martial art. And I highly disagree with that. And this is why. I want to start off with what I agree with. He did make a claim that boxing is a sport. Obviously, boxing is a sport. It's a martial art turned sport. The boxing that we see in competitive form, when you're looking at amateur competitions, Olympics, prize fighting, when we watch this, we take into consideration that there's rules. We understand that there is a scoring system. That's what makes a sport a sport. The same thing can be applied to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition or a karate competition or Muay Thai. The list goes on and on. Let's break down, though, what is a martial art. Martial is synonymous with war. Now you can take it back to its origins in Latin. Mars is, the Greek god of war. So you can tie it in that way, but English martial, synonymous with the words like war, soldier, military, things like that, combat, fighting. This is where you get terms like martial law. Well, then you have the word art. And art, I think, is misunderstood. By definition, it's misunderstood. And Dstyles makes a claim in his video that art is subjective, which it's not. Beauty is subjective. Art is straightforward. What is art? Art is a skill. Art is a technique learned through practice. That's an art. Self-expression and all that, that's the byproduct of the technique. For example, singing, right? If you wanted to express yourself through yodeling, that's a different technique if you're an R&B singer. Or if you were trying to sing R&B and express yourself through R&B, just different techniques. If I wanted to express myself via a paintbrush, I'd be using a different technique than if I wanted to express myself using a pen. It's just a different technique to these art forms, to draw, to paint, to sing, to dance. That's what makes the art. Now, whether you like that art form, whether you find it attractive, that's what is subjective. But the technique is not. The art is technique. Art is technique. When you find out the art in jiu-jitsu, in Muay Thai, in boxing, in wrestling, the art in those martial arts, it's not the self-expression. It's the technique. Now let's talk about the techniques. Now, is boxing the most well-rounded or the most effective martial art? No, it's neither. It's not well-rounded. It's pretty much one-dimensional. It's to teach you how to defend yourself using your hands. Obviously, there are limitations, but there's limitations to other martial arts. In his video, I saw that he did make a reference to an MMA fighter in Brazil who apparently got beaten up by a man with a bat. And He says that MMA even falls short of a martial art. Again, a martial art is their techniques that can be applied in combat. But to say that the man was not a trained martial artist because he got beaten up by a man with a bat is ridiculous. For example, there's many forms of martial arts. I'll take one for example. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu teaches you to grapple and mainly submissions and positioning yourself, through while grappling. I mean, it teaches you to grapple against one person, but does it teach you how to grapple against a group of 10 attackers? No. Does it teach you how to defend yourself against someone with a sword? Well, no. If someone came and attacked you with a machete, can you defend yourself using Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? No. I mean, if you had a group of 5 attackers, you might be able to wrestle one down, but the other guys are going to beat you up. So is it effective? Is it effective, in every scenario? No. So yeah, that MMA fighter got beaten up by a man with a bat. I mean, but that does not mean that he wasn't trained or is not a martial artist. MMA, first of all, is not a martial art. It's a combination of martial arts. Anyways, anything that can be applied in combat is a martial art. Archery is a martial art. Fencing is a martial art. Wrestling is a martial art. It's just an old style martial arts, and there's different styles of wrestling. There's just the idea to grapple or to take someone down. There's different styles on how to go about doing that. Obviously you have the Greco-Roman wrestling. You got judo. You got obviously Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And, there's many forms of wrestling that are extremely ancient and maybe even older than Greco-Roman wrestling, and they come from Africa. And there's many forms of wrestling there with its own technique. There's punching in karate. There's punching in kung fu, but there's a different technique that must be applied to those art forms. It's just a different. You learn something different. There's a different stance. It's just completely different. Maybe some things are similar, but in the end, boxing should be respected as its own martial art because it can be applied in everyday situations. Like I said, it's probably not the most effective, but we don't know which one is the most effective. Sometimes that's a matter of preference. Boxing is a martial art. One of the most ancient martial arts, archery. Does archery teach you how to throw a punch? Maybe not, no. But, still archery is a combat technique. In ancient times, it was much more applicable in the battlefield. Nowadays, obviously, someone with a bow and arrow will be pretty much outgunned in the battlefield of today. But all in all, it's still a martial art. Sharpshooting is a modern day martial art. So again, all of these martial arts, there's techniques applied to it. Some of them help you deal with weapons. Some of them are grappling. Some of them are striking. Some of them are all of them put together. Now, one of the things also that I noticed in D Styles' video, he made a point that, well, everything that you learn in the ring only really is designed to work within the rules of boxing. You can't throw elbows, you can't throw a headbutt, and in real life you don't have these rules. So it's not a martial art because it's not applied. Well, first of all, uh, elbows, headbutts, low blows, these are not allowed in the ring. They're not, but they are as much of a part of boxing as the jab and the hook. They're still a huge part of boxing. Um, Boxers still utilize the elbow in the ring. They'll still utilize the low blow. Victor Ortiz does not stand in front of a speed bag and practice his headbutt, but he'll utilize it if he feels frustrated. Um, there obviously, if you took a young man that goes into the gym and his intention is to become a professional boxer, obviously the habits that he's going to pick up is going to be a habit on how to succeed in the ring. But if you can walk into a boxing gym and learn how to defend yourself. As long as your mentality is, I'm going to pick up these bad habits, but they're going to be useful out in real life. But they won't be allowed in the ring. But so you have some good points. D Styles brought up some good points. Is boxing a sport in the setting that we see it? What we follow? Yeah, it's a sport, but the techniques applied in the ring is a martial art. Is it the most effective martial art? No. Is it one dimensional? Yeah, obviously. But it's a martial art. There's many. The list goes on one dimensional martial arts that they're still useful. They can still be applied. To 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 say that boxing is not a martial art because what you envision martial art is has nothing to do with violence kind of goes against the term martial art. It goes against it. It has everything to do with violence and battle and war and military. It has everything to do with that. Everything. The honor, the respect, all these things that we see in a lot of the popular martial arts like kung fu, karate, when you see fighters or students bow and the respect that they have for their teachers, all of this is more of a culture thing. Obviously, these Eastern traditions are pretty common in these martial arts. And we have to take into consideration that boxing is just a Western martial art, along with wrestling. And by when I mean Western, I don't mean obviously. I'm not trying to say that the first person to throw a punch came from Europe. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying the modern day boxing that we see today, what came out of London, it's Western influenced. And it has a lot of Western culture in there, and you're not going to find the Eastern traditions in this Western martial art. Boxing is very straightforward. In competitions, you're not going to see boxers. Some will bow, but it's not. It's not. It's not something that everyone does. You might do it out of instinct, but it's not something that you're taught to do every time. What do? We bump the gloves, and that's it. That's how we show we're ready to fight. But as far as you know, the honor, and that's you know, a martial art is not about fighting. That's what they try to tell you. Obviously, you're learning a skill on how to either how to severely hurt somebody or how to kill somebody. So of course they have to instill a little bit of honor in you, or else you'll just be a killing machine, a godless killing machine. So obviously they have to instill a little bit of discipline in you. But the point of a martial art is obviously, like I said, to turn you into a weapon. Um, Boxing is one dimensional. It is a sport, but it's also a martial art, and it's a Western martial art. A lot of Western martial arts are very straightforward. Greco-Roman wrestling, boxing, even think about it, even dueling back in the day. This is where kind of boxing kind of got its little hype. I mean, uh, back in London, people used to settle disputes through duels, and only one person survived that match. Boxing fist fights allowed people to settle their disputes and live to fight another day. So it did end up becoming a not just popular but almost a recommended form of settling disputes. But like I said, it's very straightforward, just like a lot of Western military tactics. Um, just look at the way that we fought. We used to fight back in the day, back around the 1700s. Go back to the Civil War. Go back to the Revolution. Back when fighters or soldiers had muskets. It was a martial art just to learn how to use your musket and how to kill with the bayonet and how to march in unison and not break formation, flanking your opponents. All of this was a martial art. It was all used in combat. It was used in battle. But you look back at it and you look at it. It was extremely. You know, it was a martial art because it was put into practice and it was used, but it wouldn't work in the field nowadays. I mean, it would not work against guerrilla warfare. It's very very straightforward, just like boxing, just like fencing, just like wrestling. And so that's the thing. That's the only difference. You're going to get a different perspective from boxing than you would from a lot of these Eastern martial arts. So to say that because they don't hold the same traditions, or because they don't have a belt system, or because this or that, that's not what makes a martial art a martial art. Martial art is battle techniques that can be, they're techniques that can be applied in battle. That's what they are. They're techniques that can be applied in battle. And some are more effective than others. Some are more well-rounded. Some utilize weapons. Some don't. So it is what it is. But boxing is a martial art. The techniques that are used in the gym is a martial art. The idea to throw a punch, the idea to land a left hook, a right hook. The boxing stance is one of the most effective in throwing the most devastating punches. The key in boxing is not to lose your footing and to be able to continuously throw your punches. And it's from the footwork to your body movement, to your footwork. I mean, to your hand combinations, punch combinations. Everything is set up to work together in a form of a dance. It is a skill. So This is Aztec 101 in the ring. Let me know what you guys think. Boxing is a martial art. Shout out to Dstyles. This is Aztec 101 in the ring, and I'm out.